Have you ever just stood and looked out at the vast, endless ocean and wondered what kinds of secrets are buried beneath the waves? You know, for thousands of years, humanity's been completely captivated by the echoes of one single enduring story. And it's not just some passing myth either. It's this haunting memory that has survived across millennia. A story of unimaginable wealth, extreme power, and honestly, an absolutely devastating catastrophe. So today, in this explainer, we're doing a calm, focused historical analysis spanning the depths of time. We'll examine the original ancient texts to see where the story actually began, map out the geography to find exactly where this empire might have stood, and look at what modern, cutting-edge science has to say about literally the most enduring mystery of the ancient world. So think about this for a second. What if the greatest civilization in history didn't just disappear by accident, but was actually erased? We're so used to viewing history as this slow, steady progression, right? Just marching forward, century after century. But what if there was a true pinnacle of human advancement that was suddenly, violently wiped off the face of the earth? Imagine a society so incredibly advanced that its sudden absence left a massive void in the historical record. We're talking about a civilization that was once a global superpower, transformed literally overnight into nothing more than a whispered legend hidden down in the deepest, darkest trenches of the sea. Let's dive right into part 1, Plato's Lost Empire. A mighty power which unprovoked made an expedition against the whole of Europe and Asia. Those words are the foundation of this entire mystery. They were written by the ancient Greek philosopher Plato, penning his dialogues by candlelight way back around 360 BC. And get this, everything we know, every modern theory, every deep-sea search for this lost city stems entirely from his ancient writings. Specifically, 2 dialogues known as the Timaeus and Critias. And the wildest part? Plato didn't present this as some fairy tale, he presented it as a genuine historical account. He claimed it was a record passed down through generations, originally coming from the sacred archives of Egyptian priests who said they had preserved the true memory of the world. Now, this leaves historians deeply divided over one really big question. Why did Plato share the story of Atlantis in the first place? I mean, was he acting as a meticulous historian, recording the true events of a magnificent, forgotten era? Or was he masterfully crafting a philosophical allegory? See, Plato frequently used fictional dialogues to teach profound moral lessons to his students. So some scholars argue he just invented this powerful empire to serve as a dark antagonist for his ideal vision of ancient Athens, kind of like a stark warning about the sheer dangers of hubris, greed, and moral decay. But on the flip side, others passionately argue that the granular details he provided, we're talking exact measurements, geographic descriptions, architectural layouts, they were just way too precise to be purely made up out of thin air. And the details Plato gives us, they're incredibly vivid. Honestly, it sounds like a movie. He described a society defined by highly advanced ancient architecture that totally defied the capabilities of the time. This wasn't just some basic settlement. It was an incredibly powerful empire that projected its influence across the known world. He talked about a capital city constructed with brilliant engineering. Picture these massive concentric rings of water and land, all connected by enormous navigable canals and defended by a colossal military force. Plus, he detailed tremendous wealth. He painted this breathtaking picture of majestic golden cities rising from the ocean at sunrise, with grand structures gleaming with exotic, precious metals. Most notably, a mysterious fiery substance he called orichalcum. Basically, it was an ultra-realistic, highly functioning utopia that completely dominated the Earth. But then, out of nowhere, this golden age ended in sudden destruction. According to the historical account, as the empire grew relentlessly greedy and morally bankrupt, the gods unleashed their terrible wrath. In a single, terrifying day and night of misfortune, the Earth literally tore open. Massive, towering tsunamis blotted out the sun, and violent earthquakes completely shattered those majestic golden cities. It was an epic, cataclysmic disaster scene that completely swallowed the advanced island civilization. Literally overnight, the greatest empire on Earth sank beneath the violent waves, swallowed by the suffocating mud of the ocean floor, never to be seen again. Which brings us to part 2. Where was Atlantis? For centuries, the search for these sunken ruins has generally focused on two vastly different regions, the Mediterranean Sea and the Atlantic Ocean. The Mediterranean represents the known world of the ancient Greeks. It's a highly active tectonic zone, densely packed with islands, and it has a very long history of volcanic activity. The Atlantic Ocean, on the other hand, well, that represents the vast, mysterious, and largely unexplored unknown that lay far, far beyond the ancient boundaries of standard navigation. A seemingly endless expanse of deep, dark water. From these distinct regions, we get two leading theories. First up, the Santorini theory in the Mediterranean. Now, Santorini is a real, deeply scarred island that was actually once home to the highly advanced Minoan civilization. Around 1600 BC, a catastrophic, earth-shattering volcanic eruption completely destroyed it, triggering massive tsunamis that devastated the surrounding coasts. So a lot of scholars firmly believe this real, terrifying historical disaster is what inspired Plato's story. But then, on the other side, we have the Azores theory. The Azores are a remote, volcanic island chain sitting right in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. Proponents of this theory argue that these islands perfectly match Plato's exact geographical coordinates, situated just outside the Pillars of Hercules, which we know today as the Strait of Gibraltar. Both theories present highly compelling arguments, but as of right now, neither has yielded absolute, undeniable proof of a sunken golden city. Alright, let's move on to part 3, modern scientific evidence. So, what happens when we evaluate the physical evidence through the lens of modern science? Well, in archaeology, we actually do find remarkable discoveries. Deep underwater ruins covered in coral, and even sunken temples found globally, stretching from the Mediterranean all the way to the coast of Japan. However, the scientific consensus is still that there's no conclusive link tying any of these specific ruins to Plato's fabled empire. Geologically speaking, though, scientists have thoroughly verified that massive tectonic shifts and volcanic island destruction are very real, observable phenomena. So the natural disasters described in the ancient texts absolutely match the physical mechanics of the myth. It proves definitively that an entire island can, in fact, sink overnight. But despite this scientific validation that the disaster mechanism is real, geology just hasn't found the exact massive sunken landmass that matches the specific city described by Plato. And that leaves us with the missing proof. Despite generations of explorers searching for gigantic underwater temples, and even with our advanced sonar and deep-sea submersibles capturing the glowing mysteries of the ocean depths, undeniable proof remains totally elusive. Why? Well, first off, there's a complete lack of definitive artifacts inscribed with the civilization's name. Second, we really have to account for shifting ocean floors over millennia. Thousands of years of sediment accumulation and tectonic subduction could easily bury anything, no matter how massive it was. And finally, we're likely dealing with the complex blending of myth and historical memory. It's incredibly common for ancient cultures to take a real, deeply traumatic historical event, like a devastating local flood, and just exaggerate it over centuries until it transforms into a massive, untouchable global myth. So that brings us to part 4, legend or erased history. Which leads to a pretty obvious question. If Atlantis was truly real, why does it remain hidden today? Well, just consider the sheer, unimaginable scale of our oceans. Over 80% of the seafloor is entirely unmapped, unobserved, and unexplored. I mean, we literally possess better, more detailed maps of the surface of Mars than we do of our own deep ocean trenches. So the extreme limits of modern exploration mean that an entire sprawling, ruined civilization could easily be sitting in the absolute dark, miles beneath the surface. It could be completely hidden by the passage of time, covered in thousands of feet of sediment, and crushed by the overwhelming weight of the deep blue water, just waiting silently to be found. We've traced the words of an ancient philosopher, mapped out the turbulent seas, and reviewed the hard scientific data. Now, the final verdict rests with you. What do you think? Do you think Atlantis was real, a magnificent advanced empire permanently erased by the Earth itself? Or is it just a powerful, enduring legend designed to teach us a lesson about human hubris? It's a profound mystery, and one that continues to haunt the deep waters of our imagination.